Lecture 3 looks at external and internal analysis, with a focus on Porter's 5 forces framework and the resource-based view of the firm. The first HBR reading, The 5 Competitive Forces, covers external analysis, and the second reading, Competing on Resources, covers internal analysis. Porter's 5 forces is one of the most well-known tools in management, and you've probably come across it in some context before. But just to recap, it argues that 5 forces, the threat of new entrants and substitutes, bargaining power of buyers and suppliers, and competitive rivalry, can help to explain how much profit potential exists in an industry. And a number of factors affect the threat of new entrants. The items shown here discourage new entrants. Supply-side economies of scale, spreading out fixed costs over a bigger number of units produced. Demand-side benefits of scale, network effects due to a larger customer base, such as with eBay with online auctions. Customer switching costs, costs when customers change suppliers. Capital requirements, having to invest a large amount of capital. Incumbency advantages independent of size, so advantages like access to raw materials or favorable locations. Unequal access to distribution channels, if access is limited or existing competitors have channels tied up. And restrictive government policy. Government may limit new entrants by licensing requirements, for example. For the power of suppliers, a supplier group is more powerful under these conditions. If it's more concentrated than the industry it's selling to, if it's not heavily dependent on the industry for its revenues, if the industry would face high switching costs to change suppliers, if the supplier's products are differentiated in some way, offering distinct benefits, if there's no substitute for what the supplier provides. In commercial aviation, there's no substitute for pilots, for example. And if forward vertical integration is a threat, if the supplier can threaten to enter its buyer's business. For the power of buyers, a buyer group is more powerful under certain conditions, when there are only a few buyers or when they purchase in large volumes, when the industry's products are not differentiated. In this case, buyers would just seek the lowest price. If buyers can change vendors with little or no switching costs, and if backward vertical integration is a threat, if the buyer can threaten to enter its supplier's business. And there are also conditions when a buyer group is more price sensitive, making the industry less attractive. When the buyer's purchase is a major percentage of its costs or expenditures, when the buyer is low on cash or is not highly profitable, and when the quality or cost of the industry's product does not have a major impact on the quality or cost of the buyer's product. For the threat of substitutes, the threat is high when the substitute offers good relative value compared to the industry's product. So think Netflix compared to the now bankrupt video rental outlets. Or the buyer has low switching costs of changing to the substitute. Think the low switching costs of changing a prescription to a generic drug from a branded drug. For rivalry, rivalry is more intense under these conditions. If there are many competitors fighting for business, or if they're about equal in size and power. With slow industry growth, firms often battle for market share. With high exit barriers, companies are influenced to remain competing in an industry even if they're earning poor returns. When rivals are highly committed to the business for various reasons, they may have goals that go beyond just financial return, and this can make rivalry more intense. And when firms can't read each other's signals well, that tends to exaggerate rivalry. So with all that said, a five forces analysis helps you understand an industry's attractiveness. And once you understand it, you can then take appropriate action for your firm. And three potential types of actions that a firm might take in response to a five forces analysis are shown in slides 9, 10, and 11. Positioning your company where the forces are the weakest, described on slide 9, is one possible action. Exploiting changes in the forces, described on slide 10, is another. And trying to reshape the forces in your favor, described on slide 11, is another potential type of action your firm can take. The second article, Competing on Resources, makes the case that a firm's resource base, not just its position in an industry, is a potential source of competitive advantage. And a resource can be a source of advantage if it passes 5 tests. If it's hard to copy, for example, because it's physically unique or if it's been built up over time, such as the Gerber brand for baby food. If it depreciates slowly, Disney has a very strong brand that has not diminished significantly over time. If its value is controlled by your firm, if the firm itself and not individual employees or suppliers or buyers keep most of the profits the resource generates. If it's non-substitutable, steel has substitutes in some markets. Aluminum beer cans were a substitute for steel beer cans. And if it's better than competitors' similar resources. So the medical equipment maker described in the article could develop much better interfaces than its rivals, which allowed it to expand its doctors' offices. Investing in building and maintaining strategically valuable resources can strengthen a company's competitive advantage. Disney invested significantly in strengthening animation, for instance. And acquiring new strategically valuable resources can help to build or sustain a competitive advantage. So to sum up Unit 3 of the course, analysis involves both an external and internal component. Porter's Five Forces is one of the most widely used tools for strategists to evaluate the external environment. And the resource-based view of the firm, described by Collis and Montgomery, is the dominant approach to internal analysis.